want you to pay an $18 a month charge.
This is the one trend that capitalists will never give up.
He's talking about how BMW is charging people $18 a month to turn on the heated seats in their car, and how if you think it doesn't affect you, you're wrong, and it does. And he's right. This is the first example I thought of. My designers, you know, this used to be pay once and you got it. And now it's subscription. Yeah, it's on your computer, but you need to pay them to turn it on and make it work. Same thing with this. You used to buy this and have it. Now it's subscription. Oh, well, that's just software. Oh, well, that's just two companies. If the big boys like Microsoft and Adobe are doing it, I'm sure other people will follow suit, and it'll be software, and then it'll soon be hardware. It'll soon be all kinds of things. A change is coming.
So this TikTok by Janus Species points out something that I think is really critical to understand about capitalism. And that is that at the root of capitalism rests this desire among capitalists to make as much money as possible while doing as little work as possible. Now, the first people that fell under this category that were actually explicitly called out and criticized by even Adam Smith, the father of capitalism, were landlords. People who just own land, and you had to pay to use the land that they owned. Now, back in his day, a lot of those folks literally inherited it from royalty and aristocracy, but even today, most land is either inherited or purchased with inherited wealth, or purchased by people who accumulated a lot of wealth after they got some significant inheritance. It turns out that generational wealth still plays a major factor in the United States economy. But because capitalism is what it is, pretty much every other capitalist is trying to figure out in some way, shape, or form how they can replicate the success of landlords, where they do nothing and yet reap all of the benefit. Now, capitalists over the last 100 years managed to put together the stock market, which kind of operates like that, where people can depend on those like dividends and revenues and things like that. But even at the institutional level of individual companies that need to be run, they recognize that there's this issue as well, where they want to make as much money as possible while doing as little as possible. And specifically, they want to be able to deny access things to a profit, because really, that's what being a landlord is all about. Landlords make money by threatening eviction. That's the reason people pay rent. People pay rent because they do not want land to be withheld from them so that they can have a place to live. And now, with the modern technology that we have, companies are starting to realize that in more and more domains, they can operate on this rent-based model. And the digital rent-based model is known as software as a service, where no, instead of buying a piece of software that you then use, you rent a piece of software and you keep paying monthly over and over and over again. And they say that you get the benefit of the updates, but the reality is they were going to update that software anyway. And even if the updates might be more frequent, which realistically they kind of aren't, the reality is that when you use software as a service, you are inevitably going to pay far more by paying the monthly fees than you would have otherwise by buying it outright. And now they're going even a step further, because if you can get software as a service, and if cars have computers in them, well then golly gee, you could turn things on and off as a service in a car, and you can make people pay rent on a vehicle that they're already leasing or owning. So now, instead of just the loan you need to get to buy your car, you'll also need to put up monthly payments. And if you think this is where it's going to end, then I hate to break it to you, but you are mistaken. Because the primary goal under capitalism is not to innovate, it is not to make products and sell products, it is to make a profit. So if renting a product to you is more profitable, that is exactly what they are doing. So if renting a product to you is more profitable, that is exactly what they will do. And in fact, it is exactly what they are doing. The problem is with the giant companies that we have around today that monopolize entire industries, we're finding ourselves paying more and more rent to a smaller share of hands. There are fewer and fewer small businesses and far fewer options in the market than there used to be. And so anything that could reasonably be rented inevitably will be, as long as capitalists are allowed to have their way. So without strict regulation or a fundamental change in our economy, the unfortunate reality is that rent is going to become a lot more than just paying your landlord. Because in some degree it already is.